Let's speak with Dr. Donald Jensen for more. He's a senior advisor on Russia and Europe at the U.S. Institute of Peace and also a former diplomat at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. Hello, Dr. Jensen. So things moving very fast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Over the weekend. Thank you for joining us. Things moving terribly fast. I'd like to start with your assessment on how this mutiny resolved itself swiftly. It's taken many by surprise how quickly Yevgeny Prigozhin ordered this turnaround. What do you make of this? Was the magnitude of taking on the Russian military too daunting, or were there other factors?
Well, first of all, it's been a remarkable political drama over the past 2 days. I agree with you. And I think what we're seeing now is we're seeing the tensions within the Putin system, in the military, in the intelligence services, finally coming to the surface. This has been a remarkable, some people have said a circus, and I think the big loser is, of course, Putin himself. He has shown, as you said, that he cannot control the country. There have been in recent weeks, not just this episode, there have been raids in Belgorod and elsewhere. There have been running away in some battlefield areas in Ukraine. A lot of Putin's allies, like China, are distancing themselves from him. So this has not been a good look, on top of a series of unfortunate, from Russia's point of view, diplomatic setbacks in recent weeks. So this is a bad time for this to happen. And I think we have not seen yet the whole drama play out. This is just some deal that we don't even hear the details about. And I think in the coming weeks and months, it's going to play out with more specificity. The big loser is Putin. And I think we now have to talk about the end, perhaps, of his political career in the coming weeks and months. This has not been a good episode for the Russian president.
So you've talked about the cracks there, but you can't sidestep the fact that this has been the greatest power challenge to the Russian president. Your thoughts on whether Prigozhin could have been a real threat to Mr. Putin? I mean, he led a 25,000-strong mercenary group versus Russia's vast army, possibly pegged at the fifth largest military force in the world.
It was, but I think you have to go beyond that 25,000 number. What he was counting on, it seems to be that he was counting on the other so-called power ministries to cross over to his side. I was in the embassy in '91 during that coup against Gorbachev, and that's exactly what happened. The average soldier, the average fighting man, determines the outcome of a situation like this. And you saw yesterday in Rostov, very troubling signs for the Kremlin. A lot of people were taking selfie pictures. A lot of people were friendly toward the Prigozhin Wagner troops. This is not a good sign. Putin, at a time when the country is under great stress, needs a unified home front. And clearly, the home front in Russia is not unified anymore. And that's what has been, I think, the big takeaway, as they say, from what we saw in the last 2 days.
Let's talk about this pullback by Wagner and whether it constitutes a setback for Kyiv and its Western allies, all of them huddled, of course, since, this episode played out. They would have seen this revolt as a tantalizing window of opportunity, wouldn't you say?
I would say on the surface, yes, but in reality, no, because what Kyiv has done, even in the past 2 days, is push forward the front in the Donetsk area, for example, by a noticeable number of kilometers. This weakens the morale of the Russian soldier. This weakens the morale of the Russian military. They have been on the back foot. They have been trying to resist a impressive Ukrainian offensive. And all of a sudden, you've got this thing behind their back at home, but they're beyond the control of the average soldier who's supposed to be fighting in Ukraine. So this is not a good sign for the Russian army. And I would add, moreover, that the Wagner troops were some of the best troops in the Russian military. We all followed in recent weeks, as you know, and I'm sure you did too, the struggle over the town of Bakhmut. That was defended by Wagner troops, and now they pulled out. Now the Russians have put other troops in there that have not been as good, and that we've seen Ukrainian make advances around that city just in the past couple of weeks, and even more yesterday. So this has not been a very good thing for the Russian military, and now a lot of things are on the table. First of all, the evident dissatisfaction with some people, not just Prigozhin, with the leadership of Defense Minister Shoigu and also the chairman of the military staff, Mr. Gerasimov, General Gerasimov. They have been roundly criticized by Prigozhin as recently as yesterday. And we don't know what their fates will be. In fact, the so-called deal that came down today didn't even mention them at all. We have to see where they're going to go. And it may well be that Putin has decided that the time has come for both Shoigu and Gerasimov to leave the scene. We just have to see. This deal raises more questions in a way than gives answers. And then, again, this is a major political crisis in the Putin system. And we have to see how it plays out in the coming weeks. Even if Prigozhin departs the scene, goes to Belarus or Africa or wherever, this is now opening a crack for other potential challengers to Putin. And believe me, they're there. We just don't know them very well, but they're there. And this crisis has shown that they're there.
Interesting perspective there, especially the last one. Thank you so much for your thoughts. Dr. Donald Jensen with the U.S. Institute for Peace for joining us. Appreciate your time.